Welcome to DU Digimon. Hello and welcome to DU
Digidestined, I bring thee new tidings. The void that was left by the foes of past battles has been filled, in some cases, by those who survived the last purge. Brutal, rage-filled dragons climbed up from below, taking advantage of the tools left untouched. After the previous chaos, the Royal Knights descended from above with their full fury and decimated the land below. Among the Royal Knights, the most powerful have shown their gallant techniques and alter themselves when necessary to face their destined foes. In response, the Phoenix rose again and conjoined its powers with those of the Rageful Dragon to match them in battle. Great machines of war have begun their march, though it is too soon to tell if their colossal steps will change the landscape. The Maiden of Moonlight encaptures the heart, but ensnares her victims before they have had time to react. And further still, more and more warriors and monsters gather to the sounds of war. The tension is building. If something is not done soon, we could see a return to the chaos of times gone by. Save the digital world, Digidestined, before it is too late.
Right, I need to have a chat with whoever that is. This is the second time they've interrupted an intro. We have a ban list incoming, guys. Let's get into it. So yeah, we have a ban list coming up on the 23rd of August 2025, and apologies that I'm a little bit late to the party in terms of reporting on this. I was actually on holiday all of, this week from where I'm recording on the Saturday last week for you guys watching this. Yeah, I thought I'd give our kind of takes on this and kind of go from there. So the first thing I did was I went to Digimon Deck Meta, and I basically collated all the results from kind of the first place wins. And I say I've collated, I've got ChatGPT to do it for me. These are the general kind of results built up from a mix of locals, regionals, regulation battles, and all that sort of stuff. So Omnimon no Kia, so the kind of CS supported Omnimon stuff, is kind of taking the most wins. That's gotta go for sure. Big improvements to it. Very popular Digimon. Second place is going to Gallantmon, which I believe is a mix of the red base version and also the more purple base version. The one that was specifically kind of Megidramon, but is now kind of more just a Gallantmon top. Then third place was Royal Knight. So Royal Knight, of course, still putting in a lot of results. Puppets came in fifth. The CS deck, so the Alphamon Kyoko stuff, came in kind of the fifth place spot. I can't read. Fifth place spot. The Galaxy at sixth place. Machinedramon at 11, and that is a mix of the different kind of top ends, so your DM stuff as well as your Gearmon stuff. A Badomon, Gearmon Phoenix, so the Gearmon engine with Phoenixmon stuff, and Sakuyamon. Now, of all of these, some of them are probably going to be more likely to get hit than others. Obviously, Omnimon has only just really gotten back into meta contention by the look of it. It wasn't really putting in that many results through BT20 and BT21, but it's now putting in results again as of BT22 because of these big improvements to the deck. So is Omnimon going to get hit? Not the most likely, but it could. Gallantmon has been running rampant for a while, and its engine has been causing a problem. And not only that, its engine has also making appearances in other decks. So obviously, it's been in Gallantmon as the purple base version. It's made appearances with the birds stuff, as well as with Machinedramon. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on there. Royal Knights has been, doing a lot of stat damage for a long time. That basically became the boogeyman of the entire meta for a long time. CS won't really get hit at all because that's only just come out. Puppets could see hits, I suppose, but again, this one hasn't really had that many results before EX9. So I'm going to put it as a general rule of thumb. I don't think any of the decks that directly improved due to support from EX9 and BT22 will get hit unless that support is from much further in the timeline. So, say for example, if you did go to Omnimon, maybe hitting one of the BT17 cards. Then Galaxy has been a problem since EX5. We all know this. It won Worlds. We all know how good the deck is. So I definitely could see a potential hit there, and we'll get into what hits we all think in a bit. Arresterdramon has been making some waves, regardless of those engines. And I think could continue to do so. Can be quite a tricky deck to go up against. Abadomon, again, a very tricky deck potentially. Might get more support in the future. I think I saw an image from Digimon Liberator where there was an Abadomon in it. I could be wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I am wrong. I haven't kept up with Digimon Liberator because I was on my holiday, so I need to go back to reading it. Geomon Phoenix, again, that's been using the Geomon engine, and then Sakuyamon has also been running rampant for a long time. So let's get into what these cards are going to be, at least in my opinion. Now, the first one I'm going to go into specifically is because I and a lot of other people, I think, don't get why Bandai didn't ban this on the last ban list, which is Gravity Crush from BT1. Gravity Crush should have been dealt with back when Blinding Ray and Jack Raid were dealt with, just as they should have been dealt with back when Hammer Spark was dealt with. I don't understand why Gravity Crush was left there. There are 2 more zero-cost options that do a memory gaining type thing of a similar vein. So you've got Tropical Venom for green and Parabolic Junk for black, but those 2 are so more specific in their usage. Parabolic Junk specifically gives an on-deletion effect to gain 2 memory to one of your guys, which only a few decks can really take advantage of. And you don't really want your bodies to die at the end of the day. You want them to stay on the board. And then Tropical Venom only does it, I believe, it does the opposite. It kind of gives on deletion to one of your opponent's Digimon, so when you're beating them over. And again, that's hyper specific. But Gravity Crush is basically just cool. I slap it down. Oh yeah, I'll lose 2 memory at the end of my turn, but that's not going to matter if you're dead. So Gravity Crush should have absolutely gotten a hit. It is interesting because we do see it not being used sometimes. I think because some people are looking to test without it, essentially, in case it does get hit on the ban list. But I think from what I remember of the recent Gen Con regionals, I had a look at the Gallant lists on there, and they were both fielding Gravity Crush. So it's still an absolute menace of a card. Just if you've got them all 4 in your hand, that's 8 memory for free, which is dumb. Speaking of memory and kind of board presence, and well, I didn't mention board presence once, but getting things for free, essentially, Greymon X. I think Greymon X is the hit you need to do to the Geomon engine. It's just dumb. It's dumb, and it's the tradition of that was started with Greymon X, continued with Garurumon X, and of course continued with Numamon X as well. Bandai keeps making random X antibody cards at the level 4 slot that are too good. They're just way too good, and Greymon X is among those, specifically because of the engine that revolves around with it. I mean, you get a draw 1, you get a trash with it, you are going to then give yourself that on deletion to play out a Geomon, if your stack does die, so long as you've got X Antibody or Greymon underneath you. You then gain your memory from the rest of the stack inheritables, which, I don't see too much of a problem with those ones. It's the fact that you can continue this board presence, especially when you've got stuff like EX4 Geomon, the one that gets rush, and that could potentially get a hit as well. Maybe bump that down to 1. You never know, because that whole combo is kind of scuffed. That's why Birds has taken such a good advantage of that as well. Arresterdramon started too. It's just a really good engine built around that Greymon X. That Greymon X is the heart and soul of that engine. So I think, if you wanted to cut that engine down, take out that card. Next, I'm going to talk about 2 cards, but one of them is more splashable than the other, and that is Medieval Gallantmon. Medieval Gallantmon from EX8, as well as the promo Gallantmon that we got in the box stoppers from BT21. Medieval Gallantmon, I think, is the problem out of the 2 of them. It kind of is... It's just a super uber generic top end that can go basically in anything you want, even if it can't digivolve on top of something, because you can reduce its play cost and it just has such an oppressive all turns effect. It doesn't matter. I genuinely, having done some testing today with Leopardmon, I'm trying to come up with like a Leopardmon deck that uses the CS engine. And let me know if you guys want to see that once I've kind of fully cooked it. But I was doing testing against Omnimon, which, as you can see on the results that we collated, or ChatGPT collated for us, that Omnimon is doing really well. It's a really strong deck right now. But with just Medieval Gallantmon on board, I managed to control them enough with just that Medieval Gallantmon that they couldn't do anything. And that was after a brick. I basically had nothing good in my hand other than Medieval Gallantmon, and Medieval Gallantmon just came on board, slapped their rookies out of the way, and was all good. We controlled everything, and it's also a great top end in stuff like Galaxy and just anything. There's no deck that I think doesn't take value from a Medieval Gallantmon being in it, and that is not okay. You can make the argument of, well, if it's good in almost every deck, then surely that's an advantage for keeping it. Yes and no, because every deck can use it equally well, but also not every deck can recover from being hit by it equally well. There are some decks that don't really care about their boards being cleared. Some decks that can just recover straight away. Others take so much time and effort to kind of go anywhere that if a Medieval Gallantmon's in the way, you can't do anything. It's like I was going up against Sam a lot on my holiday. It was me and Sam, we went on holiday. He's a Arresterdramon main now. He's sold his Galantmon deck. And he's gotten really good with that Arresterdramon deck. He knows it in and out and does that sort of stuff. And the only deck he really had trouble with when me and him were playing, because a lot of my decks are still kind of in a bit of a testing phase and stuff like that. The only deck he had problem with was Dynamon, and that's not only because of Dynamon's effect, but also because of the fact I had Medieval Gallantmon in it, and it just immediately becomes a problem once it hits the board. Going on to kind of promo Gallantmon now, the issue with the promo Gallantmon is less specific than with Medieval Gallantmon, which is why of the two I would prefer Medieval Gallantmon to be hit. I don't know if it will be. My head says it's not. My heart wants it to be. But with the promo Gallantmon, the issue with this one is it's just become a really cheap, generic way for just purple decks in general to have just a cheeky boss monster. We've seen obviously the purple Gallantmon stuff use it more. The Megidramon deck is dead. It's just purple Gallantmon now. We don't use Megidramon anymore. Purple Hybrid uses it. And purple Hybrid is still quite strong even after the bans it received. I think the promo Gallantmon is just a very tough card to really kind of get around, because like the moment it's out, it's like, okay, cool, they've got this rushing board presence stuff, they've deleted something with 13k or more. Granted, that does include itself if it goes up to 13k or more. So of the two, I don't think promo Gallantmon is as big of an issue. Technically, it's also a Royal Knights hit as well if you hit promo Gallantmon, because Royal Knights does make use of it. But of the two, I'd probably say Medieval Gallantmon would be my chosen hit there. Next, kind of going on to kind of again generic purple red stuff, is Arresterdramon. Now, Arresterdramon from BT21 has made appearances in a lot of decks that I don't think people really expected. If it's of course been a big part of Hero, and Hero has seen some results after people kind of put stuff like the Appmon stuff into it, and they worked it out. I never could work that out back when I was first testing on Hero, but I'm glad people did kind of figure that out. Then we've seen it in Purple Hybrid as well, and it's just a really... I even saw a Dorbikmon list. I think from Gen Con there was a Dorbikmon list that made top 16, and it had Arresterdramon Spirit Mode in it. And the Arresterdramon Spirit Mode is just really dumb, because it's basically a pseudo boss monster. It gets really big. It gets 1000 DP for each of its Digivolution cards, essentially. Has Raid and Piercing. Can attack twice, because when Digivolving it attacks without suspending, and then you can do your other attack if you've not passed turn with it. It's a really good card. I selfishly, I wouldn't want to get rid of it, because, I play it in Heroes, and it's a big part of that deck. But it is a potential problem, and I think it could be potentially done away with. Yeah, hunters will not like that, but they have got another superior mode that they can rely on, a much older one, granted. and Arresterdramon Spearman could stop being used generically. I think that's really the main thing with a lot of these hits we've talked about so far, is that they really have a generic application to them, where a lot of decks that they're not really intended to be used in can use them really effectively. Now talking about cards that are a little bit more specific rather than generic, let's talk about Sakuyamon, and specifically BT17 Taomon. This is a card that I think a lot of people are looking to get shot of. It obviously helps a lot with the efficiency of the deck. It lets you use your plugins for a lot less because of the memory gain. We all thought, obviously, back when the Taomon Ace first came out, that was the problem level 5. Not so much now, because the Kazuhamon got limited on the last list, but now the BT17 Taomon is becoming public enemy number 1 for the deck. You could also look at something like the BT19 Rena. That helps a lot with the consistency as well as the memory gain. I know some people talk about Valderarm, for example, and my specific issues with Valderarm is level 7s in general. It's very hard to think about limiting them when they're not used at high value anyway. Limiting a card is much easier for cards that you know are being run as a 4 of, whereas Valderarm definitely isn't. At most, Valderarm's being like a 2 of in a Sakuyamon deck. Personally, for me as well, I love playing Axel, and I would hate to see Valderarm get limited because of that deck. I love Axel. Valderarm's also a good kind of hit against stuff like Royal Knights, so the moment you go to a Valderarm, Royal Knights can't really do much. So I wouldn't want to see Valderarm get hit personally. Most hits, I think, have got to be towards an engine that does a lot of things, rather than specifically like a one-shot great card. So I don't think Valderarm would be the right hit. I think BT17 Taomon, maybe the Rena would be good hits. You could also hit the green plugin as well. That obviously lets them, go into things a lot more cheaply. So yeah, you could also get rid of that as well. Then another specific card, but this time going for Royal Knights, BT20 Omekamon. The problem with Omekamon is the moment it's gone underneath Yggdrasil, you then worry about hitting security. And that is really not fun. Like, hitting security is the way you win the game. And, you're being punished for game mechanics at that point. And the Omekamon, if you limited it, it doesn't hurt Royal Knights to the point it's unplayable, but it hurts them enough that they kind of lose their trap card, essentially. You could maybe look at like limiting Coolboy as well, but I think that's too much of a hit. That just gets rid of their resource engine completely. You could look at getting rid of something like Last Guardian, but I think getting rid of Last Guardian wouldn't be enough. You could maybe get rid of Purge. One of the advantages of Royal Knights is because of their interactions with Yggdrasil. Every time you use something like Last Guardian or Purge, you gain memory back from them. So, you could look at those, but I think the right one is going to be BT20 Omekamon, just to kind of get shot of that, stop punishing people for trying to play the game, essentially. Like, I think coming from my background as someone that came from Yu-Gi-Oh!, I can see an issue with cards that punish people for playing. And Omekamon is that kind of card. You could also make the same argument for something like Miraculous Mega Knight for Omnimon. And honestly, because that card came out in BT17, I could see that possibly getting a limitation. Or, as we've discussed before in Bandai's predictions, a semi-limitation. I think it'd be really cool if Bandai could bring over a semi-limitation, both to, to not hit cards so much to the point where they are, just a one-off, but also to give the chance for cards that can come back. A chance to come back at a limited, way. So instead of coming back straight to 4 copies, bring it back at 2. I think semi-limitation is something that really should be something in the card game. And it's one of the only things that I really would say the game could learn from my previous card game, from Yu-Gi-Oh!, where you've got this kind of limitation. But Miraculous Mega Knight could be a good hit too. I mean, that, specifically to Omnimon, wouldn't touch obviously the BT22 stuff, because obviously that's just come out, wouldn't touch the EX9 stuff, but you could make an argument that you could hit Miraculous Mega Knight, because that, the moment that comes down, that also punishes people for kind of playing the game, because they have to worry, do I swing in? They could have an ace in hand. Do I remove the War Greymon and the Metal Garurumon? But they might DNA into an Omnimon. What can we do? The only cards that really get around stuff like that is cards that like just can't be redirected or something like that, you know. But you know, but even then, you know, the threat of the ace is still real. So, you know, that's definitely a thing. And the last card I would like to talk about being limited or banned outright is going to be the EX5 Sayo and Koh. Now, this one already does have a banned pair, not being able to be used alongside BT13 Keenan, ST16 Matt, and the promo Zubamon, because of its ability to gain their abilities to gain memory, play stuff out. You know, so it's really just, you know, a problem card. And ironically, I actually came across a combo using Ludomon, the ST13 Ludomon, which is ironic because of the fact that promo Zubamon is limited. I came across this combo today, and it is disgusting. It essentially is a memory loop. And it is using the Sayo and Koh, the Ludomon, and the new Beta 22 Leopardmon Ace. You essentially use the Leopardmon Ace to play out your ST13. That then slots itself underneath one of your red Digimon. Then at the start of the opponent's turn, you then are going to be using your Sayo and Koh to take that Ludomon back out from underneath your stack, triggering it on play to make it go underneath, which triggers your Leopardmon, giving you 2 memory because it counts as leaving the battlefield, because in that exchange of going from the battle area to underneath the Digimon, that counts as leaving the battle area, despite the fact technically it doesn't, which never makes sense to me, but that is the ruling, and it is disgusting. I genuinely was locked out of 3 turns against this player that had cooked this list on DCGO, and it was the worst thing ever, and it definitely was a wake-up call for me to make sure that Sayo and Koh was included in this video, because you can't keep ban pairing something. Like, what are you going to do? Make a second ban pairing and keep this card in the game only for it to be abusable later on again? Not going to work, is it? So get rid of it. Either limit it or ban it altogether. Honestly, leaning towards the latter. But yeah, that's probably about it for the cards that I think could potentially come onto the ban list. Or rather, I should say me and the team, because I did consult the rest of the team on this one. You know, in terms of unlimiting, I say it every time, but I know it's not going to happen. I would love for Greymon X to come back, because I'm a Greymon stan. I love that deck. There are a lot of decks that are just way faster now. You look at CS. CS can go all the way up to level 5 just by doing a single combo. You know, so Greymon X kind of is Greymon's equivalent of that, you know, letting us to go into our level 5s a lot more cheaply. But the thing is, with more and more dual colour level 5 Greymons being released, we just got Rise Greymon, for example. The EX9 Metal Greymon before that. We're getting another Metal Greymon in the EX10 as well. That's dual colour. The more and more dual colour Metal Greymons we get, the less that Greymon X is coming off the list. I would love it to. Hand on heart, I don't care how much people hate the card. I would love it to come back, because I want to play Greymon at full power. But I know it's not going to. And the same is said for Garurumon X, Numamon X, you know, all of those. They are not coming back anytime soon. Absolutely not. You could make an argument for the ST6 Gabumon, and I think it's the BT2 Gabumon, BT2, BT3. Yeah, they'll be on screen. They'll be on screen. Because those ones, like, there are other cards that have their effects now. Like, let's be honest, the ST6 Gabumon verbatim has the same inheritable as the one from ST21, but without the ability to warp up into a Metal Garurumon. So I feel like that can come off now. Like, come on, we're printing cards which are just retrains of it. It can come off now. The Beta 2 Gabumon, the on deletion draw 2 trash one, maybe not. I mean, you could make an argument that'd still be really strong in a lot of purple decks. But I think for definitely the ST6 one could come off, because, I mean, come on. We literally have cards that do the same thing, but they also have, you know, actual effects on top of it. I also think potentially you could take off something like Blossomon or Argomon, the ones that do the Digisorption 3, you know, make your Digivolution costs cheaper. Because, again, the game is really at a pace now where sometimes those effects don't really matter, because everyone's got effects like that. CS does, Galaxy, you know, all these different decks that can make plays so efficiently. Plus also, green is just in a really, really bad place. I've been working on a video for a long time. I'm not going to spoil what that video is, but part of that video is looking at tournament results. And I'll tell you now, green is not across the board great for tournament results right now. It's pretty bad. You know, I think the best performing green deck is the green version of Adventure, and that's it. There's not really anything else that's green and doing well. So I think to give a little boost to green, you could maybe look at bringing stuff like those back. I certainly wouldn't look at bringing back the truly banned cards like, you know, Matt and, you know, Mega Digimon Assembly's never coming off, or Mega Digimon Fusion, sorry, that's never coming off. But those other cards that I've mentioned just now, you know, could potentially. But that's our thoughts, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and ding that notification bell, and also hit down in the comments what you guys think is going to come off on the list. And again, apologies that this one was a little bit late out. You know, holiday's going to holiday, so you know, I'm a little bit late on the curve. So hopefully the algorithm doesn't punish us too much. So, you know, if you did like this video and like the takes, do like and subscribe. But anyways, looking forward to the actual ban list. Hopefully I can do a reaction to it. I don't know. That is actually a very busy weekend for me. So hopefully I can do a reaction to it. But we'll see. Anyways, see you again on the next video. But until then, keep it digital.